Hello and welcome to the Hoop Collective Podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we are doing on Saturday evening. Joining me from Oklahoma City, we couldn't come together at the Tipsy Tiki today. I had to come home for 24 hours. I'll be joining Tim Bontemps in Oklahoma City tomorrow.
Hello, everybody.
Also in Oklahoma City is Ben MacMahon.
Howdy, partners. We've got a morning pickup basketball run, so I don't think I'll be making a Tipsy Tiki appearance either tonight.
Oh, really? Well, you know the finals have worn you down when MacMahon is passing a Saturday night at the Tiki.
Well, the
Says
IT
I need to
department,
know.
yeah, IT department, aka my strength and conditioning coach, also had a little something to tell me when I went home and stepped on the scale. So
she was looking over your shoulder for that one.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. All right. Well, it's kind of hard to evaluate health status at the end of a 2-month playoff run. I'm just going to tell you that. But the big one is tomorrow. Have you guys? How many Game 7s have you guys covered?
Total?
I'd have to think about that. Won this playoff run here in OKC.
Yeah.
But not, they're fairly rare beasts.
I came I've been to 2 final. I've been, a handful, a dozen or so Game 7s, but this will be my 3rd finals Game 7. I was fortunate to cover Heat Spurs in 2013, which that series is always remembered for Game 6 because of Ray Allen, of course, but there was an epic Game 7.
There sure was.
With LeBron and Duncan going at it down the stretch. And then 2016 Game 7 in Oakland, which I know Bontemps was at.
Probably the greatest game ever played.
I don't know about the greatest game ever played, but certainly an incredible moment in NBA history. And the 3-pointer that Kyrie made. I mean, my memory is more of, the block happened so fast, you couldn't process it. For me, I couldn't process how good of a play it was in real time. You really didn't appreciate it until you saw the replay. The Kyrie Irving shot, you knew in real time, was an absolute dagger that was potentially historic in the moment.
When you factor in the stakes of that game, with the Cavs coming back from down 3-1, with LeBron bringing a title to Cleveland for the first time in a half century, winning a title away from the Big Three in Miami, the way that game was played, the fact that the 73-win Warriors did not win the title, the fact that there was not one word said about the officiating crew of Danny Crawford, Duke Callahan, and Monty McCutcheon, who's now running the officials, and what I think is unquestionably the best officiated game ever. Like, those guys did an unbelievable job in that game with a ton of stakes and pressure on the line. And
best officiated game ever. This guy,
hey,
my God.
Listen, I've talked about it before. I don't think there's any. That was being in the arena for that, MacMahon. That was the most intense game I've ever attended, and there was not one peep about the refs from anybody the whole time. And to see that Warriors team not win at home, the way the Cavs won, the way that game was played, I do think it was the best game.
I think it's
certainly the best game I've ever been at.
It's maybe the best basketball game in history when you throw in all the stakes and all that stuff. I'm just saying the refereeing's pretty far down the list of reasons why that game will always be remembered.
Well, I'm not saying it's remembered for that. It just was. Those guys did a hell of a job. It was about as perfect a game, in my opinion, as you could have from start to finish. It was just incredible theater all the way to the very last buzzer.
So, and you remember that game, I believe, was 93-89.
Yes, it was.
There was a whole stretch in the fourth quarter there where nobody scored. Kyrie broke a long drought of scoring. In 2013, it was 95-88, the Heat over the Spurs. There was a couple of baskets, a couple of free throws late that stretched it out because it was still very much a game in the last minute.
Last finals game where a team broke 100 was in the 80s, right?
Right.
Game 7?
Yes, and so I was going to go back. The one before that was 2010, where the Lakers beat the Celtics 83-79.
Just an absolutely disgusting game.
The Lakers won and shot 32%. Kobe had 23.
He was 6 for 24, right?
Right. That's right. 6 for 24.
Just horrific. Just a horrific offensive game on both sides.
So, those were obviously is a different era of possessions. So, it's really not 100% comparable, but modern history shows that these game sevens tend to be slugfests. And in those series, other than the 2016 series, there was less travel. There's more travel, although these cities not that far apart. But in terms of like picking up and moving, everybody is worn out. Everybody is emotionally tight. Everybody is feeling it. You're just at the end of, everything has been exhausted. The preparation has been exhausted. You're mentally exhausted. You're physically exhausted. Your coaches are exhausted. Your trainers are exhausted. Your fans and your family are exhausted. You tend to have these games that are, obviously these games are all close. They wouldn't get to game 7 unless they were close. And so, the today's 83-79 might end up being, 106-102, but that might be something, what we know from history is that it can be done. I will say this, MacMahon, I noticed, I was looking when I was reviewing the stuff for this game, Rick Carlisle has won 2 road game 7s in his career as a coach. One was last year in the Garden with the Pacers. Teeny asterisks on that one because the injuries that the Knicks had. Pacers still played great and were ready for that game. And then in 2005, when he was with the Pacers, I believe, they beat the Celtics, which was a slugfest series. If you remember that series, Paul Pierce got like elbowed in the head of one of the games, and he showed up at the post-game press conference with exaggerated bandage on his head, like he was Wile E. Coyote.
In a wheelchair, no?
The wheelchair hadn't happened yet. We didn't know about the Paul Pierce wheelchair. If he had thought about it, he would have. And
his britches must have been clean.
His britches. So I guess what I'm saying, Bontemps, is I'm not expecting beautiful, high-scoring, free-flowing basketball Sunday. Of course, I can't predict what will happen. I wouldn't begin to, but I'm talking about the way the modern era of Game 7s has looked.
No, I mean, look, history would tell you this is going to be a late and close game. And if it's a late and close game and the Indiana Pacers are involved, they're going to feel pretty good about their chances. Look, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's had some monster moments in the clutch in the playoffs, and certainly the Thunder will feel good if they've got him with the ball in his hands late with a chance to win the game. But we saw the Pacers steal game 1 in that fashion. We've seen the Pacers steal a game in each series throughout these playoffs. Tyrese Haliburton has hit some of the most iconic shots in recent memory in these playoffs in late and close situations on the road, beating the Cavs and the Knicks and the Thunder all on the road, all with game-winning shots in the final seconds of the game. So, history would tell you that, for as much as this series has mirrored the Denver series, and that's been talked about a lot, basically every game has been virtually identical to how the Denver series went. Game 7 of the Denver series ended with the Thunder winning here in Oklahoma City by 1 billion points in Game 7 and running the Nuggets off the court. Not saying that's not possible tomorrow or today, I guess, for when this records. In Game 7, the Thunder have led 141 of the 144 minutes here in Oklahoma City. The series has generally been dominated by the home team in these games. Certainly could see them winning comfortably, but the expectation, I think, should be going into it that it's going to be one that goes into the fourth quarter, a competitive game. And, the Pacers all playoffs long have been very happy to be in the fourth quarter in a competitive game and use their depth and pressure and Tyrese Haliburton shot making to find ways to win games. And if they're able to do that in this Game 7 Sunday night, they'll feel pretty good about their chances of pulling it out in the end.
Yes, the history is Game 7s in the finals are tight. We'll see. We'll see about this one. I agree 100%. If it's close late, big advantage to the Pacers, even though we all saw what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did the last time. It was a good game, a clutch situation. The Pacers have been the best clutch, this is one of the best clutch runs that we've seen, at least in recent memory, by Tyrese Haliburton, by the Pacers as a whole. But the Thunder tend to mop the floor with their opponents at Paycom Center. Jackson just put it in the chat. They're plus 247 at home this postseason. That is the best margin by any team at home in any postseason. Okay. They're 10-2 at home. The two losses were both collapses. They had double figure leads in both of those losses, including obviously game one here. And then they've had two chances to eliminate opponents. One, you mentioned game 7 against the Nuggets, a 32-point blowout. The other was game 5 against the Wolves, a 30-point blowout. Certainly not going to predict a 30-plus point blowout, but it's going to be one hell of an atmosphere. And the Pacers aren't just playing the 5 guys on the floor. They're playing against 20,000 people wearing the freebie T-shirts too.
The Pacers, okay. I really wish I had better analysis than this. I think the team that doesn't turn the ball over more is gonna win, because while you can look at certain things and there's certain variances you're going to have with 3-point shooting, if one team gets red hot from 3, that tends to defeat a lot of stuff. What is often was really told the tale of this series is who doesn't give the ball away, and especially because it's so important for the two teams the way they want to play. And I think over the course of the series, Indiana has really tried to give some of Oklahoma City some of their medicine back by really picking at the ball, and really looking to, that's one of the things that the Thunder do so well is, you look away from them, their guys tend to sneak in and start to look how they can get in your way, how they can step in your way. TJ McConnell does that brilliantly, has always done that, but you just see them as Shea and stuff starts going into the lane, they're just picking at his handle. He had 8 turnovers in game 6, the most he's ever had in a game. One of the big differences from the rest of the series to game 6, and something I think that I'm sure the Thunder have worked on a lot. Rick Carlisle's wrinkle that he threw in was not pressuring full court, which has been a Pacers trademark throughout the playoffs. It was one of the things that they did early in the series that they felt wore SGA down. The Thunder at one point, had Jalen Williams basically bring the ball up the floor a lot more to try to alleviate some of that burden. Shea got free access right into the half court throughout the entire game 6. And then what they did frequently, I think it was 12 or 14 times, when he would get into the action, they would double team him.
Yep.
And it led him to commit 8 turnovers. And Andrew Nembhard was guarding him on 5 of those 8 turnovers. It wasn't always him that got the credit for the turnover, because there was double teams coming and he threw passes that got batted. He got this pocket picked, and etc. But Nembhard was very effective at, waiting for him in the half court. I think the stat was that in the series, they were averaging picking him up. I think it was 20 feet back. Can't remember.
Yeah, it was like 39 feet compared to 59 feet.
Right. So they had been picking him up 60 feet from the basket, which is midway in the backcourt, and they were picking him up basically
couple steps over half court.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons that they did that was because they wanted to set up the double teams a little bit more. They didn't want to get into the switches as easily because they were probably going to go after Halliburton. The other thing is with the Pacers pressuring the ball in the backcourt, it enabled the Thunder to set screens really, really high up, far away from the basket, and that enabled Shea to get ahead of steam going, and so that was an interesting change. Now, just because they did that in Game 6 doesn't mean that's what they'll do in Game 7. But Shea openly admitted after the game that wasn't something that he was really preparing for, and that was a curveball. So
no, and listen, the Pacers flipped the Thunder's biggest strength on its head in that game. The Thunder literally led the league in turnovers forced and fewest turnovers committed throughout the regular season, and then have ratcheted that up even more during the playoffs. Little Stats Williams work here. They are plus 116 in the playoffs as far as turnover margin. Since the ABA-NBA merger in 77, the next best turnover margin during the postseason is plus 79 by the Raptors championship team. Now, that was plus 126 before Game 6. So, historically dominant in winning the turnover battle. And the Pacers flipped that completely on his head in Game 6 when Shea was extraordinarily sloppy with the ball. 21 turnovers as a team by Oklahoma City, 8 by Shea, matching the most in any playoff game, or I'm sorry, any finals game over the last 40 years. And OKC wasn't able to create any kind of havoc on the defensive end. Every time, like you look at the one common thread, probably two common thread. No, the one common thread from every single OKC blowout win, whole bunch of turnovers forced, whole bunch of points off them. I was going to say the other one was, Shea lighting it up, but he had 15 points when they beat the Grizzlies by 51 in the playoff opener. And so, we'll see. I agree with you. It's real simple, but probably the team that wins the turnover battle is going to hoist a trophy and have a parade.
Well, and when you look at that, right, a lot of turnovers comes down to poise and discipline and focus. And, coming into this game, obviously there's pressure on both teams in a Game 7 to win the title. But I think there's little doubt that there's more pressure on the Thunder, who are the massive favorites. They're playing at home. They're supposed to win this game. They're supposed to win this series. They are coming off this horrendous performance in Game 6 where they got their doors absolutely blown off. And as great as the crowd is here in Oklahoma City, and it is a great crowd, as good as any in the league, if the team gets off to a slow start in the first quarter, everybody here is going to start to completely freak out and go, holy cow, are they really not going to do this and not win this series? And the beginning of the game in particular, I think it's vital for Oklahoma City to get off to a good start and try to get some open air and get out in front and sort of let everybody relax. And on the other side, it's equally vital for the Pacers to hit some early shots, get out to an early lead, and cause everybody to start thinking. Because if they can do that and get the Thunder on their back foot like they did in Game 6, even though the Thunder got out to that quick 10-2 lead, Pacers immediately came back. They got back out in front, hit some shots, got going, got feeling good. And then all of a sudden, the Thunder were kind of reeling and could never really recover. The longer this game can stay close and the Pacers can hang around, the tighter everybody involved on the Thunder side is going to get. And for a team that's shown they have no problem coming back and they're perfectly comfortable playing in late and close situations, the longer that tension builds, I think that's a big potential advantage for Indiana as this Game 7 goes on.
All right, let me give you trivia time here. We haven't done this in a while.
Whiz of the quiz.
Whiz of the quiz.
And now, to present today's trivia question, the whiz of the quiz, Brian Windhorst.
So TJ McConnell, who is... Is he the Pacers' number one half-court weapon right now?
I mean, it might be. The Pacers are just a confounded team.
They are confounded. That is a good word.
He has had a heck of a series. By the way, his dad going on the set after Game 6 was a very cool thing. We went on the set. If people didn't see, and go find it online. He went out and started talking to Isaiah Thomas, and I think Steve Smith was there and the crew for NBA TV after the game when TJ was on set. And it was a fun little thing to see a guy that clearly proud and excited about his kid playing in Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
He was very proud and excited, and he was still very much of a coach because TJ has talked about how hard his dad was on him.
Yeah.
And if any of us had fathers who were hard on us over sports, they can appreciate this. You can tell it wore TJ out a lot in his life. So,
man was bringing up a state championship game loss. My goodness.
Well, not just
right.
that.
Well,
the first thing he said was, "Well, he missed those 2 free throws."
Oh yes.
And TJ. I mean, here's TJ just had like the moment of his life, and TJ's like, "Of course," and like, on one hand, it's a joke, and he's saying, "Of course," but on the other hand,
you can see the PTSD on his face from that.
Exactly
immediately.
Right. But at the same time, he was very clear how proud he was of his son. But
and his daughter in the WNBA.
Real talk, TJ McConnell has got to be at the top of the Thunder prep list for this game. Like when
it's interesting because he is going right at Cason Wallace. And Cason Wallace is a hell of a defender. And honestly, I didn't think there was anybody in the league who was shorter than Cason Wallace who'd be able to just go at him and score over him. But TJ McConnell has done that.
It's truly remarkable what he's done in this series.
Well, he's the subject of the Whiz of the Quiz.
Oh, let's whiz it.
So TJ McConnell.
I just want to point out that Bontemps intentionally snubbed Jared Greenberg, who's, very sensitive, but go on.
Okay.
Yes, clearly
TJ
an intentional
McConnell
snub by our pal, Jared, who's the best.
So he had 12 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals in that game.
12, 9, 6, and 4. Okay.
The second bench player in finals history
12, 9, 6, and 4.
To have at least 10, 5, 5, and 4. Now, there's been a lot of bench players who've had 10, 5, and 5.
This is quite a stat.
I mean,
you'll never get it. I will give you a hint. This guy won many, many rings.
Many
rings.
Cooper. Michael Cooper.
Wow, that's.
I mean that.
No, he already got it. He got it. Robert.
Yeah,
Ory.
Michael Cooper. Because I was thinking.
No, you were wrong.
First of all,
you were wrong. It was Robert Ory.
Robert Ory.
Michael Cooper.
Robert Ory. No, Cooper is a good guess.
Oh, damn
Cooper is a good guess. But yes.
Wow. Cooper was a great guess. I was ready to take a victory lap. Damn
you were taking one.
Because I was a Showtime.
Cooper might not have had 5 assists. I wonder how many assists he averaged in his career.
That's true. Yeah, because
when you say many rings, I
might have. I should have just said, a great champion.
Which team did he do it for? The Rockets or the Spurs or the Lakers?
2005. It was 2005. So that would have been the Spurs. Late in his career, like that, we wouldn't have thought he was been active enough to be getting steals back then. Let's see how many in his playoffs career. Let's see how many assists Cooper averaged. Well,
listen, Cooper won 5 rings too. So
there was a couple years where he averaged over 5 assists. So he probably just did 4 steals.
It's a good guess, MacMahon.
It was a damn good
not a
guess.
correct
it was an excellent guess. It was an excellent
pretty proud, TBH.
The point I'm trying to make here is, well, by the way, Michael Cooper is a Hall of Famer. Robert Ory is known as one of the great big game players of all time. Big shot, Bob. And
good company to be in.
We're talking about TJ McConnell. We're talking,
Oh, wait, finals. No, never mind. Go on. I was going to say Cooper missed it by 1 assist once, but that wasn't a finals game. Go on. My bad.
All right. It was a good. We're nodding to you. Good job. We're not. You don't have to verify your guess.
I'm proud.
Guess.
I'm proud.
I'm bad at trivia. I'm really bad at trivia. But Robert Ory, I actually.
That was a good one.
Robert Ory's. I never get the trivia that Paul Hembekides does on Get Up, and I'm just not good at trivia.
Did you get that question right the other day?
I did.
Did you guess Robert Ory?
I did. It was.
I got it right at the airport. I didn't see what the answer was, but I saw the question, which was LeBron James is one of 2 players to win 2 Game 7s on the road. Was it 2 Finals Game 7s or 2 Game 7s? 2 Finals
Game 7s.
Right?
Yeah, but the key is he has to play in them.
Play in the game, right?
Yeah.
And my thought was Robert Ory because I thought of 94 when the Rockets beat the Knicks and then 05 when the Spurs beat the Pistons, but I never saw the answer. I actually meant to ask you what the answer was.
Yeah, I did get it right. I figured because LeBron had done it with 2 different teams. There hasn't been that many Game 7s, and the Game 7s haven't been won. I mean, because you think about, like, in my lifetime, has a team won 2 Finals Game 7s? Like the Lakers, have they won? I think maybe they've won 2. They think they won
road?
1. No,
there's only been 4 that have won them on the road. Period.
Right.
What is it? 15-4. The home team's 15-4 in Finals Game 7s. So
yeah, although
it's a pretty short list.
Well, and I think those are the 4. I think those are the 4. Those 4 games are the 4 where the home team lost.
Bonus question: do you know who the player who was on 2 Finals road winning Game 7s? He didn't play in the games, but do you know the player who was on the team?
Oh, Kendrick No, not Perkins.
That's a decent guess.
Like Chuck Nevitt.
Chuck Nevitt.
I don't even know what Chuck Nevitt is.
You guys don't.
Bob Pettit.
No, you guys don't remember Chuck Nevitt?
I do not. Sorry.
Chuck Nevitt was a. He was
I know who Chuck Nevitt is.
He was known as the human victory cigar. He was 7'5".
It's a wild guess. It's a wild guess.
Oh, he only won 1 championship with the Lakers.
Who was the answer, Brian?
James Jones.
Oh, James Jones. Yeah, 13 and 16. Right.
Yeah.
Now, what is he like? He's the senior advisor, I believe, for the Phoenix Suns. One of those experts who wouldn't let ESPN be hands-on.
Well, I was going back while you were talking earlier, Brian, to see how many Game 7s I've been at, and including the bubble, this will be the 16th one I've been at. But setting aside the bubble where there were 4, and obviously that's a neutral site in them, just to your point about how Game 7s have sort of evened out over time. I've been at 11 of them, and the road teams won 8 of them. Which, over the history of the sport, it's like 75% of the time the home team has won. And it's not, I think it's like 50% since, but it's a lot more than it used to be.
I'm not someone who cheapens what happened in the bubble. I think that was a unique challenge that was extremely stressful for a lot of ways. I don't think the Game 7 stats can apply because
well, no, that's why I left them out.
It was a bus ride from the hotel.
He's saying the rest of them.
Of the 11 that were not part of the bubble, the road team won 8 of the 11. So
there's a bunch of stats out there.
That's happened lately.
There's a bunch of stats out there about how many teams won Game 6 in the finals and then won Game 7. You have to wipe almost all those away because in the 2-3-2 situation versus a 2-2-1-1-1, it's completely different. Having said that, obviously the last time we had a Game 7, the team that won Game 6 also won Game 7.
I also think that taking Bontemps to take your personal experience and draw conclusions. I'm just telling you, if you're covering a Game 7, that means that home team, you've been in that home team city for like several days and probably have sucked the soul out of the city. So it really weakens the home court advantage.
I'm just saying, if you go through and look, you go through and look, there's been a lot of road teams that have won these games in recent years.
Hey man, if the Pacers pull this off, it is capping the ultimate underdog championship run. To pull off a Game 7 in this building with this home court advantage when they were, what were they, like minus 750 underdogs coming into the series?
This isn't LeBron James. Even though it was the 73-win Warriors, this would not be LeBron James and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love beating the 73-win Warriors.
Right. And that one was a huge underdog because of the opponent, right? And because the opponent just had 1, 2 in a row, the 70, the historic 73 wins and all that. Putting that aside, this would be the best underdog run since Rick Carlisle's Mavericks in 2011.
I mean, it'd be the most unexpected championship in NBA history. Full stop. There's really not. I don't think there's even a close second.
I mean, I think there's been a couple of teams who've won 3 series where they were without home court advantage. That's happened a couple of times, I think, but they would have beaten 2 60-win teams, to win a Game 7 on the road. I mean, God, they've won a lot of road games in this playoffs.
Like, what were they, 16 and 18 at one point this season?
Yeah,
they were under 500, damn near halfway into the season, and I don't think there's a fluke factor here. There is like I said, I don't know if we're ever going to see another string of game-winning shots or game-tying shots in the final seconds like we've seen Halliburton put together. But I mean, what a remarkable run by the Pacers. And again, there's been some good fortune. I don't think it's a fluky run. And the other thing I think that the Pacers have proven that probably nobody would have thought is as fast as they play, like they were not a very good defensive team at all last year. I certainly thought of them as a finesse team. Man, they're tough. I mean, they got some tough dudes. A list that starts with Andrew Nembhard.
Well, there was a good stat that came out after Game 6 that they've had 8 different players score over 200 points in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, one of the ways that you get it done on the road, whether it's Game 7 or wherever in the playoffs, is that you're resilient. And they have a lot of different guys that can do stuff for them, including TJ McConnell. But controlling TJ McConnell is a big part of the Thunder game plan. Like, it's just, you got to do it. If you don't do it, you're asking for trouble. This is absolutely a vitally important career moment for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He is in position to deliver a championship in a spot where he plays a good game, and it's a lifetime. It's a career. Obviously.
Well, it would be one of the best individual seasons in the history of the sport. And this would be one of the best team seasons in the history of the sport. You have the fifth most wins to win a title ever, and with a record point differential, with a chance to build on this going forward and have a potentially, at least potentially, a dynastic type run, depending on how things break. And for Shai, we've talked about it since the start of the series. He's one of four guys, I think it's to win a scoring title, MVP, and the championship in the same season. The other three guys are Shaq, Michael Jordan, and Kareem.
Well, he would be.
11.
He hadn't done it yet.
No, if he does it, I'm saying. Like, it's in the event that he wins, that he's on that list. He's he'd become one of 11 guys to win MVP and Finals MVP in the same season. All of those dudes are Inner Circle Hall of Famers. The worst of them, quote unquote, is Willis Reed. Like, it's one of the more, his 1970s are the most iconic moments in the history of the league. Like,
I think it's 8 guys who've done it 11 times.
I think it's a list of 10 guys total. It's rarefied air that he would be in on many fronts, but it requires one more really good performance against a team that has been, the definition of a giant slayer in these playoffs and has been in this series, including, in games 3 and 6, making him look as uncomfortable on the ball as I've ever seen him, to the point where he's had the most turnovers in those 2 playoff games that we've.
You can talk about what a win means, and that's all true, but
Hold on. Willis Reed, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who else entered them? Moses Malone, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Jordan again. I'm still only 5. Hakeem, that's 6. Jordan again, still 6. Jordan again, still 6. Tim Duncan, LeBron, and LeBron. That's the list. But listen, and if he falls short, if they don't finish the job, what it means is this: he's going to have to block out deafening noise until he wins one, or unless he wins one. Because it's like, listen,
it's going to be like when the Warriors lost. It's the same kind of situation.
No, because they'd already won one. It's like it'd be like when LeBron lost in 2011. Not when LeBron lost the first time, but when LeBron lost in 2011, when he was, on a team that was the clear-cut favorites, right? And Wendy, you obviously covered that up close. Like, the world was on LeBron's neck.
Well, they were on his neck because he had switched teams and still lost. It was,
and it's a little different just because also Shai has not, he was not the chosen one on a sports.
Right, but I think
was trying to cover at 16. But like people are looking for reasons to, or at least some people, to knock OKC, and it's like you talked about it a lot. They were not a very strongly respected 68 win team.
Correct.
It's why I think the comparison, even though it was a bit of a higher profile thing, is 2016. Personally,
I don't know. It's
because people have clowned that team ever since they didn't win. Even though and then they got Durant. And obviously, they won after that. But that team, they got made fun of that whole summer and beyond for not winning that series and not winning that title. And that's what's at stake here.
There's a lot of people who just didn't believe in the Thunder. And they thought there's a belief from people that Shai is being crowned too early. There's a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but there's definitely. I was just talking to somebody on a plane on my flight out of Indiana the other day, who was like, "I just want you to know, with all due respect, you got the MVP wrong." He was like, "You have an MVP vote?" I go, "Yep." He goes, "You vote for Shai?" I go, "Yep." He goes, "Well, you got it wrong."
Okay, who was it supposed to be?
Well, he was arguing for Jokic.
So again, I think the comparisons, if you go back to 2016, yes, they'd won the title the year before, but they played the Cavs in the finals. The Cavs had the injuries to Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, right? The Warriors win the title. There are all these people that said, they would have lost if the Cavs were healthy. They then play the next year. They get to the finals. They're up 3-1. They lose the series. People were like, oh, these guys wouldn't have won either one then. I think the LeBron thing was such a unique situation where he was like public enemy number one across the world for people that I don't know if you can quite compare it to that. But
right.
that 2016 team, when they didn't win, it turned into all this same stuff. These guys aren't that good. They're overrated. You guys think Steph is better than he is. All that kind of stuff. And it took a while for that to change. And for some people, it took all the way till 2022 when they won without Durant for it to fully
that's
change.
What Steph was saying. When Steph was, when he had the cigar or whatever, when he had the MVP Finals trophy, what did he say? Well, he said, what are they going to say now?
Yeah.
That was a reality. I mean, the man already was a 2-time MVP and a 3-time champion and
the greatest shooter of all time,
greatest
and everything
shooter of all
else.
time. And what are they going to say now? Because he still felt that.
And that was 6 years later.
And look, I would say unfortunate reality of the modern NBA and the modern media and social media, which those are two different things. But the simple fact is, the better you are, the bigger the target when you don't accomplish the ultimate goal. And Shea is the MVP of the league. And, we've discussed all the chances he has to put himself in just the most exclusive historical company possible. And anything short of that, I'm sure he would consider to be a major disappointment. And it will be portrayed as that. The Pacers in some way, and look, the Pacers, nobody's going to have any moral victories, right? But the Pacers are playing in some ways with house money here because nobody expected.
No question.
Even as recently as a month ago, nobody expected them to be here. And, they've overachieved. And Oklahoma City, for being as young as they are, for being pretty damn fresh out of a rebuild, a credit to them and credit to Shea, Presti and, the other Dagonoff, the other guys who are involved here. But they've positioned themselves where the expectations are immense, not only right now, but really for this era forward that is just beginning.
Yeah, well, and it's also this isn't a matchup between the Thunder and last year's 65-win Celtics team, right? Like you said, coming into the series, they were supposed to win. They were massive favorites. They blew game 1 at home. They laid a complete egg in game 6 on the road, right? If they don't win the series, it's much going to be about the Thunder, the 68-win team, the team that has been doubted by people all season, didn't get it done as much as it is that the Pacers stunned the world and, like I said, probably won the most unexpected title in the history of the sport.
Let's add another one to that. Let's talk about Chet Holmgren real quick. Now, there have been stretches in this series where Chet has been masterful on defense, specifically in games 4 and 5, which is where the Thunder took control of the series with him switching out defensively. The things that they ask him to do when he's able to do are remarkable.
And he's guarded Miles Turner a lot. Miles Turner's done nothing on offense in the series.
Right. But Chet Holmgren is a guy who's going to be getting $200 million contract in the next month.
He's going to, I can't imagine him not getting a max extension.
Well, it's either going to be a max or awfully close, which is a ton of money.
I was going to say potentially even being max with max escalators.
And I'm not even arguing. I'm you guys know how I feel about Chet. I'm just saying the fallout if you don't win here. He's 2 of 17 on 3 in this series. In the last 2 games, he's 6 of 24 overall.
He's a 7-footer shooting 35% from the field.
Well, and here's, I really felt like last year, and obviously I covered the Thunder in the second round last year, and Chet played every single game last year. And I felt like by the time the second round rolled around, he didn't have his legs. And when he doesn't have his legs, his three looks like a dart. It is as flat as his butt. And, it's looked flat a lot in this series. And this is a different type. He missed 50 games and was bedridden for much of that time. There's no way he can be in peak condition. And and it's been a 2-month grind.
I understand that nobody's in peak condition.
Yeah, but I'm saying
the IT department flagged your condition.
Well, listen, I was 4-7 from 3-point range in the last pickup run.
All of that is true about Chet, and all of it will not matter if they don't win. It's just the way it is.
I'm saying, like, I can give you reasons why I think, like, and also his physique is just a problem. Like, he's gotten challenges with that physique to hold up on the NBA grind just of a postseason, much less a full season. I think the deeper you get in the playoffs with him, the tougher it is for him to knock down his shot, because I just don't know that he's got the lift.
Well,
let me ask you this. If you're Rick Carlisle and Jenny Busek and you're scheming, do you want to see Chet knock one down before you really close out strong on him?
I mean, I would probably just be closing out strong on him because I don't want him to start feeling good if I can avoid it. Like, I don't have any reason. And they typically tend to play towards trying to limit as many threes as they can, and they've done a good job of it in this series, so I suspect that's what they'll do. But yeah, I wouldn't, if I was the Pacers, I would not want anybody on the Thunder to start feeling good in this game if I could avoid it. I wouldn't be giving up dare shots to people, be like, they're walking in with the pressure on them, and the longer you can keep the pressure on them and have them not feeling good. Like, I thought one of the bigger moments in Game 5 was Cason Wallace, who had been awful offensively through the first 4 games, nailing 2 big 3-pointers in the first quarter, and immediately you could see this like truckload of bricks come off him, and all of a sudden he's back to flying around and looking like Cason Wallace again, and suddenly is back doing a lot of the stuff that he was doing all season for him, as opposed to a guy who was clearly in his head going, man, I really got to have a shot go down. So I wouldn't want Chet to get going in this game either if I could avoid it.
I will say pressure is, like, obviously there's pressure here, and like the analysis of pressure is kind of, media narrative type of thing. Like, we don't know what's in these guys' heads, but I did get a C in community college psychology, so I'm fairly well qualified for this. I do think there's a different sort of pressure on the Pacers. It's not the pressure of expectations. It's on the pressure of, hey, I'm not saying the Pacers never get another shot at this, but boy, the odds of Tyrese Haliburton and the Pacers getting back on this stage, getting back in this position, are obviously dramatically lower than the odds of the Thunder getting back to the finals. Like, I think the finals are going to make multiple. I'm sorry, the Thunder are going to make multiple finals runs. I don't know if that's. I wouldn't make that same wager on the Pacers. So I don't
know. I think the Pacers.
You can psychoanalyze
next season is. Well, yeah, I think the Pacers going to next season as the favorites to win the East. So
not as heavily as the Thunder will be favored in the West.
Sure.
I'm just saying we can psychoanalyze pressure a lot of different ways.
Sure. No question.
You probably didn't even get it. You probably didn't even pass a psychology class. By the way, Rick Carlisle was a psychology major at Virginia, which I used to give him too much credit for. I would always think there's some kind of like psychology play in all his little like interactions. And then I came to realize that in some cases he's just kind of weird.
I knew that wasn't going to end with you praising him.
It wasn't going to end with a nice comment.
Listen, he's kind of weird.
Why would it ever end with a nice comment?
No, he is kind of weird.
Says something you two have in common. Yes.
Listen,
that is true.
Rick today, he was asked about kind of the meaningful nature of like his history with the Pacers franchise and all that. Joe Varden, who Wendy kicks his ass all the time in golf.
Not anymore.
He asked him
all the guy does is play golf. He kicks my butt because he plays 12 times a week.
Anyways, one of the things Rick said was, he now's not a time where he wants to get caught up in warm fuzzies. And I was like, I didn't know that was ever a challenge for Rick. But hey, again, though, Rick's position he's already pulled off one of the great all-time finals upsets in the history of the game. And his fingerprints were all over that. He's a win away from doing the same thing with a completely different team, a completely different franchise, and his fingerprints are all over it. The man's brilliant.
I think this is a bigger upset than that one. And I mean, to me, if they pull this series off, I mean, one of the things we haven't talked about at all is, the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
There's all sorts of things you can talk about with the Hall of Fame about coaches and who gets in and who
Well, I
doesn't.
think he's already a Hall of Fame coach.
I think he's a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Fame coach in resume right now, but again, the Hall of Fame is has weird processes, and there's 10,000 college coaches in and very few NBA coaches in. So my only thing is, I think if he wins this game tomorrow, any question about whether he actually gets in or not, he deserves to now. But whether he gets in or not, I think that ends if they can get this win Sunday night against Oklahoma City.
And
by the way, you know what else? If they win tomorrow night, Pascal Siakam's in his prime now, but he'd be putting together a bit of a whole.
I agree. I agree. So a little behind the curtain here. There's a, Sports Center wants to have like a montage, an essay ready to go for when the champion wins. And, they don't come together in 5 minutes. You gotta, just like, the one shining moment is edited 99% of the way before the championship game of the NCAA tournament, because they got to play it right after. So I have written and voiced essays on both Pacers and Thunder winning the championship. And obviously I don't know what happened in Game 7. But I make the case, not even knowing what Siakam would have done in Game 7, that if he wins.
Well, if they win, I bet he plays pretty damn well.
Right. So that's one of the things I considered as I was putting that together, because he's had some big moments in this series. This is a guy, it's
not, it's hard. I think it'd be pretty hard to not give it to him if he plays even remotely well in Game 7.
Well, by the way, if the Pacers win right now, on the Pacers side, who's the leading player for MVP?
Well,
that's what I was saying.
I don't know what the panel is, but I know one particular short white fella on the panel is already starting to lobby for TJ McConnell. So he's got like does McConnell like Springsteen? He's got like this, the sports writers do have warm fuzzies towards McConnell. I can tell you that right now. I don't know. He's saying
was this short white joke about Varden? Is that who we're talking about? Or
I didn't name any names. Varden's already taken enough shots here because Wendy brags about kicking his butt in golf so often.
He owns me now.
That's not what I tell him.
I had, for a preview for Sunday, I had to write who the MVP candidates were. I think on the Thunder side, there's only one real candidate. And then on the Pacer side, I think there's some combination of three. Siakam, if Tyrese Haliburton has a big game, I think he could win. His stats have been pretty lackluster. He obviously had the horrible game in Game 5. He was okay in Game 6.
He did have the game-winning shot in the opener. That was
he did. But his stats the first two games, he's had one really good game in the series, and he's been pretty blah otherwise. And then, I wrote that McConnell is he actually could have a chance if he has a huge game in Game 7. He has had some remarkable performances off the bench. And some of that is because the stats across the board for the Pacers, there's just not
there's a lot of parity.
Real obvious superlative candidate. But Siakam is averaging 5 or 6 more points than Haliburton. He's first or second in almost every stat. If he has a good game in Game 7, it would probably take a pretty sensational Haliburton for performance for him to not win.
Here's the thing about Haliburton. I don't know what's going on with that calf. He looked darn good in Game 6. And it makes you wonder
how pretty good on that pass to Pascal for that dunk.
Oh my God, it was a great play. It makes you wonder makes you wonder a little bit more about how Game 5 played out. What do you want me to say?
Elaborate. That's what I want.
Well, and it's hard. It's going to be hard to win Finals MVP, even if they win with an 0 for 6 and 4 points in the game in the series. But look, if he comes out and has 25 and 12 and they win, then, that's the thing. It's sort of sitting there for somebody to get with a great Game 7.
I don't think it'd be hard for Haliburton because when you're evaluating most valuable player in a series, you can look at series stats. Impact in the 4 games they won is what's important. The values in the games that you won. The losses, it doesn't matter if you lose by 1,000 or by 1.
That's true. That's a fair point.
Sure.
That's a fair point.
I certainly don't think I just said, I think 3 people can win.
Well, I don't think the Thunder are going to win unless Shea plays really well to ice up the MVP if he wins. If the Pacers win, the way Game 7 goes down will largely determine how that vote might go.
I would say whoever has the best game in Game 7 probably wins it.
It should be said statistically, Jalen Williams has had the second best series of anybody on either team. But the MVP would be the MVP if OKC finishes the job.
I have actually never had, and I don't think I have this year. They would have asked me already. I think I've never had a Finals MVP vote, and I'm not looking for it. It's, people come after you.
They just know you don't like to make predictions or.
Well, you don't want to get confronted by some Yahoo.
I have no problem saying what happened after I watch what happens. It's before that's.
Did anybody confront you about any awards decisions on your flight, last flight from OKC to Indy?
No.
Oh, they didn't. Huh.
They did not.
How was that flight? Were you connect?
It was fine. It was on time. That's what's so rare.
That's good. Yeah,
it's so rare to be on time these days.
Mm.
All right. Well, I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. No idea how this tomorrow is going to play out. I'm looking forward to it.
I have 2 ideas.
Good for you.
What's the line?
I think it started at 7.5 and went to 6.5. I don't know what it is at this exact moment.
Interesting.
I should remind everybody that coming up here, I think it's 3 weeks from today.
Oh, yes.
Well,
wait, 3 weeks from today?
3 weeks from today.
I'm not in an emotional space to think about the live pod right now. I'm not going to lie to you.
Dude, we got to go right to draft.
I know. The reason I came home, real talk, was because of Game 7. I have to go immediately to New York on Monday and for the draft for next week. And Bontemps is covering the draft at Barclays Center. MacMahon, you're going to be there for Cooper Flag, right?
I will be on Cooper Flagapalooza. We've got a Nico Harrison press conference. Those always tend to be, in Dallas. A Nico Harrison presser on Wednesday. Those always tend to be informative and entertaining. And I assume they'll
press conference before or after?
After.
Okay.
They'll bring Cooper Flag down. I assume the next day. So
Thursday.
All kinds of pressers going. Yeah.
You'll be busy in Dallas. We thought Dallas might be a little busier this postseason, but
I'll be going to summer league practices, which I'll be honest with you, fellas, I don't remember the last time I did that.
We're going to need blow by blow Cooper Flag coverage throughout all of summer league.
You'll get it for the first 2 games, unless I don't know. We'll see when the schedule comes out. What if, I think there's a decent chance that Cooper Flag will be playing prime time on that Saturday night, and if so, I'll be a little bit busy with this live show, fellas.
Well, the live show isn't really in prime time. It's at 6:00 local time at the Brad Garrett Comedy Club at MGM Grand, and you can get tickets for it at hooplive.eventbrite.com.
Ooh, we might be the warm up for the Cooper Flag.
Come over there. We'll warm you up, and you can go over and watch the. Even though the Lakers don't have a first round pick, I'm sure they'll have them play the Lakers. No,
hey, sure. Bronny versus Cooper. Who would you rather build around?
I think there's a good chance it'll be Dylan Harper versus Cooper Flag on that primetime game.
That's for the. It opens on the 10th. The Summer League opens on the 10th.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, and then we're a couple days. I'm saying I bet you they'll.
I'm guessing it
Saturday
won't be,
as well.
I'm guessing it won't be that, but we will see.
All right. We'll see.
I would guess it'll be the Rutgers guys and the Duke guys in the 2 games would be my guess.
Oh, look at Bontemps trying to do a little programming for the NBA.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say this: we're gonna have Jonathan. We're hoping to have Jonathan Gavoni on the next pod or so. He's got Con Knipple from Duke going way up the board. He was on our show a few months ago and comparing him to Klay Thompson, and he's gone up the board. That's interesting.
And Ace Bailey is a bit of a enigma.
Well, between a draft that's wide open from 3 on, and with all the other stuff that's going on, whether or not Kevin Durant gets traded, and all these other teams that don't have salary cap space that are looking to make moves, and a lot of teams with multiple draft picks looking to move around, I think Wednesday night in particular is going to be awfully interesting, and there's going to be a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah,
is the draft not wide open from 2 on?
Well, no, for the first two picks are pretty clear.
Oh, I see
One
what
and
you're
two.
saying.
So
Yeah.
from 3 on, it's sort of the eye of the beholder after that.
Two first-round picks have already been traded, and when you talk to league executives, they think there's 5, 6, or 7 or so more in play. It doesn't mean they'll be traded, but there's several in play, including 1 or 2 in the top 10, which you don't often see top 10 picks moved.
Yeah.
But all right. But first, Game 7. Thank you to Jackson for putting all this together and being on the road with us for the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
Thank you to Bontemps. Thank you to MacMahon. Thank you for listening and watching. The Hoop Collective will be talking to you after Game 7 with Iman Shumpert and Tim Bontemps, and then it'll be draft time.
I plan on crashing that Game 7 post-pod party, and adios amigos until then.
You'll be welcomed.